It's the Comcast election. I would now like to call this meeting of the Narragansett Regional School District to order. We'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Just so that the public knows, we are doing some troubleshooting with that at the moment. So if there are any delays in access to the video or any issues with the live streaming, we apologize in advance. Please bear with us. We're still working out the kinks. But otherwise, hopefully you're all enjoying being able to hear us as you watch us on YouTube and Facebook, etc. Okay, so we're going to get started with the approval of the meeting minutes of December 14th, 2023. I would entertain a motion to approve those meeting minutes as written. So motion by Heather and second by Danielle. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? And I say yes, so that is unanimous. Okay, moving on to bills and payroll. I would recommend a motion to accept the bills and payroll warrants as presented. So moved. Motion by Danielle and second by Heather. Any questions or comments about those bills and payroll? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? And I say yes, so that was unanimous as well. All right. And so now we have our student rep. So Peter, what would you like to talk to us about tonight?
There's not a whole lot new going on since last month. We're back from winter break, so the adjusting from kind of being off for a week happened. It's college decision season, so for seniors, it's a really anxious, nerve-wracking time. That's pretty much it. Not a whole lot new is going on.
You guys have your semester change? Are you in semester 2?
Yeah, so we're in semester 3 now. Or semester 2, sorry, term 3, semester 2. And that happened, it closed Friday technically, and then the grades closed on Wednesday.
Our report card is tomorrow.
Yes, today.
Oh, today. Sign on the school brains. All right.
So the children will be happy here.
Everyone's just got a reminder. You're welcome.
That's important.
Notice the high school ones are up and off mostly. Oh, all right. So
Only one Joseph is on the Hudson.
all right. Public input. Do we have any public input tonight? Seeing some head shakes, we will move on to NDA.
Not much new, but that's a positive thing. Things seem to be going well across the board. Like he said, we're now into second semester. We are beyond day 90, so we've hit the halfway point. We're moving forward with one snow day, which makes most of us happy. I know some love the snow days. Delays are fine. We like the delays, but if we get to January with one snow day, we'll be happy. But no, it seems like things are going pretty well from our point of view.
That's great.
Kids just switched in the middle school, high school. I love high school's the same, but we just switched our new ways too, so the kids are now. And also district-wide though, we're all doing our middle of the year assessments, so STAR math and reading. 6th grade, we're doing our STAR math. Actually, I think all levels are doing math this week, and the reading is this weekend, early next week. So we can have all that data by next Friday.
Okay. Beautiful. Yep. We always like seeing that develop.
Yes.
That's about it. Thank you so much. All right. FY24 budget update and FY25.
FY24 is running pretty smoothly. There's not much. And FY25, the numbers came out yesterday wrong. They came out again today. Some were still wrong, apparently, because we just put them out again, like 5 minutes ago, but ours didn't change this time, so that's good. We are back in health harmless, which means you can't get less aid than you got last year. We lost 8 students on our overall enrollment. So that equates to a chapter 70 increase of $39,500.
And just to remind everyone, why is it that when we were talking last year, we were talking about how our numbers were up by 100, but that the state is reporting us down by a few students in foundational enrollment? Can we help everybody kind of understand that those dynamics?
So foundation enrollments that's the calculation that we receive per student ultimately for our chapter 70 money. Those students in foundation are every single school-age child that lives in the town of Templeton and Phillipston who go to a public school, whether it be here or anywhere else. So we currently have 1,330 of those students this year. And that is the foundation enrollment. So we were short by 8. So last year we had 1,338 students. When you have more students than you had the year before, and chapter 78 kicks in, so all of that is, so your multipliers are it's going to give you more money. And so when you don't, the state has a rule, held harmless, that they'll never give you less than they do the previous year, but you have to pay that money back eventually, in a sense. And so we don't want to be held harmless many years in a row. It takes years to get out of that, but we'll save it. And so that's why it's such an important number. That's why October 1 is such a really important time for us. Just as I always say, that's not the number of students that are sitting in front of teachers in this district. The district enrollment is not the same as the foundation. We have school choice kids coming into the district. I think I don't know, I want to make sure either I need to expand or.
No, I mean, it's fine. I think it's confusing for folks that we're seeing an increasing number of students sitting in our seats. But according to the state, it's decreasing. So it's just a weird dichotomy of how things get measured. That's
So I think that the other part of this is that October 1 is the snapshot. We will range anywhere from +12 to -4 over the months as they go, right? In any month. So you're right. We are seeing an increase in our resident students, although we have probably more homeschool students than we have, than we are normally have in the years in the folks homeschool learning. They do not count because it's basically considered like a private venture. So what we can have in September, and what you have in, say, May or June,
Be 2 different
can
things.
vary.
Yep.
We currently have 74.
All right, so lots more to come on budgets in the coming weeks. So just a reminder to everyone, on February 8th, we have a multi-board meeting. So what that will look like is we'll open in here. There'll be about 30 minutes where we're in here, we get a little bit of business done. But then we ultimately go over to the tri-board meeting, which is a meeting between the school committee, Phillipston and Templeton, and we have some confirmations from all of our member towns of who will be attending at this point. So really looking forward to that meeting. It's our first opportunity to get together, have a conversation about what the budget numbers look like, what we're asking for, and how things will shape up. Then by February 28th, there's a number of other finance and facilities meetings between now and then, but on February 28th, Finance and Facilities will finalize the budget, followed by preliminary budget hearing on the 14th and the final budget hearing on the 21st of March. So lots of big dates coming up. So March 14th, preliminary budget hearing, March 21st, the main budget hearing. Okay. So would love to see folks, and thanks to everyone who filled out the survey, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in tonight's meeting. All right, business managers reports, and Marie handing it right back again.
There's really nothing to point out, and then there's just kind of business as usual. Since I have, I'm gonna jump right into the insurance, which we have been talking about. So currently, our district health insurance is provided through the joint purchasing group, Minuteman, Neshoba Health Group. On December 14th, the group voted to dissolve as of June 30, 2024. So what that means for us, and we had already been in the process of looking for rates that would be better for the district and our members. So we had already been working with an advisory group to find different companies that would help the district out. So we're kind of ahead of the game, because on December 14th, there was a lot of members in that group that were quite shocked that they now had to scramble to find insurance for their employees. So with Minuteman dissolving for the district, that means they're working on language, like this has never been done before. So I just sat on a meeting today, and they're working on language, and they formed a committee today that will figure out how the losses will be divided equally amongst all members, and then if there's any surpluses down the road, how that will be dispersed as well. Those numbers are a moving target though, because they're based on things that haven't happened yet. So today's meeting, they are working with the health insurance company, like the Blue Cross, the Tufts, to have those companies, based on what they're seeing trending in our claims, to try and come up with their best guess of what those numbers could possibly mean for each district. Once they come up with that, there is going to have to be a vote by school committee that says, okay, Narragansett's numbers X, and we vote that we will fund that number somehow when it comes up. So there will be a lot more to come on that part there. If we were in a town, it would have to be approved by a town meeting vote. So I'm very lucky I'm in a regional right now. So anyways, so that's the status of our Minuteman group. But the Insurance Advisory Committee has also been meeting, and we have probably, well, definitely since September, and we even met last year when we started this process. We were looking at two different companies, Maya, which would provide Blue Cross insurance, which is the same as we have now. And then we were looking at Mass Strategic, which would provide the district with a Harvard Pilgrim plan. So last week we had a sort of info session for all staff that wanted to come, question and answers. We had a representative there. It was very well attended, actually. And then this past week, the committee met and they voted to recommend to the school committee to go with Mass Strategic, which provides Harvard Pilgrim. And the reason that they did that is I've attached a sheet, and you can see, oh, sure, currently what we pay for our active employees and our retirees with the Minuteman, approximately $2,400,000. With switching to Mass Strategic, again, estimated for next year, active employees and retirees, it drops to like 2.2 million. So what this means is that health insurance that we have had in school choice for a very long time will now all be on the general fund side. So that's a huge win for the district. When we get our assessment numbers for Minuteman, whatever that means, we'll probably go and use school choice as the funding source for that, but that will be it. So that is a very big savings for the district, and the employees are getting all the same coverage that they have, the same plans, the same deductibles, same doctors, just a little bit more money in their paycheck because the rates went down quite a bit for them.
So, that committee did make a recommendation to accept this. They had a vote.
Yep.
So Hank, is there anything you wanted to add? 'Cause I know you were on that committee.
No, it's a good deal for us, a good deal for the employees.
Any questions or from anyone? Well, let's keep moving this forward then. I would entertain,
Mrs.
Oh.
Madam Chair, sorry.
do you not want us to go yet?
Oh, no, we did.
We do.
Okay.
We thought you were moving forward, sorry.
No, no, no. I was gonna go with it. That's all right.
Oh, this is. That's all right, Madam Chair. It just.
So if everyone's ready.
Very concerning.
I would entertain a motion to accept the Insurance Advisory Committee's recommendation to contract with Massachusetts Strategic Health Group for a two-tier rate system with Harvard Pilgrim for active employees and Aetna for the UFCW retirees, where this plan will go into effect for July 1st, 2025.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Danielle, second. I'm gonna give it to Hank though, because he was.
Okay, okay, anything he
All right.
wants.
Second for Hank. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained, and I say yes, so that was unanimous. So we're all set.
It's 2024, July 1, 2024, even though it says 25.
I don't think I need to amend though, because that's just the effective date.
Yeah.
The motion itself was to approve. The note that's being made on the side so that everyone is clear is that the effective date is actually July 1st, 2024, not July 1st, 2025. However, the effective date is not applicable to the motion itself. The motion was to approve the change. Everyone good? All right. Susan, no surplus items came up since I talked to you earlier. All right, great. And I don't think we have anything not anticipated for today. Wonderful. So we will move into the superintendent report. And Dr. Cassidy, I'll turn to you.
Thank you. Chair, so it's been relatively quiet, well, we've been very busy with all of this. And many of the things that the superintendent's report will be coming, I think, later in the agenda, the survey results, pre-K, et cetera. So ultimately for this, I would, we've got a lot of good news to report out. I'm not trying to tease this in I'm not trying to be coy in any way. We have to get some more information, but we've honestly have been, got some really good information, some good news to pass along, definitely by next meeting. We just need to get some background. Just a lot of good things are happening in the district. And so I tease that, so Ms. Smith will come back maybe next meeting. And I'm doing just one person, so maybe do that. So today was the winter meeting for superintendents. It's a joyous occasion, which we all go and get our professional development. And very rarely do superintendents get in trouble, right? Or are scolded. We were scolded today from the Massachusetts Teacher Retirement System, the folks who run it. And basically what they were scolding us for, applied students, was that many districts, I think she said 258 districts are part of the MTRS system, and only 20 districts have uploaded their information on a timely fashion. There are some districts that haven't uploaded their mass teacher retirement information in almost a year and a half, which causes incredible backlogs. Some of it is the fact that they didn't have a lot of folks at the MTRS, just didn't have a lot of enough employees to handle a lot of things, COVID, like everything. But the information flows can only flow from the district up to MTRS. And it's very, what that is that money. It's the money that comes out of the, from everyone's 11% or depending from the checks, et cetera, information. So 20 districts out of 250 some odd. So they had the naughty list in the foyer. And just like maybe when grades come out or whatever, you had to go find your name of your district. And so I went and stood in line to see. And we were one of the only 20 districts that have uploaded our information to the point where it's really on them because they're behind. Okay, so they openly admitted they're behind, but they need people's data to do whatever they got to do. And so they politely yelled at us to get this information in. I was obviously proud, and I may or may not have made a big deal of the fact that we're one of 20 districts and we only have one person to do this. One person, and Chelsea Mason is her name. It is a horrible report to upload. It is terrible, awful, and it's hard to do. I know that we don't have as many employees as maybe some of these huge districts, but they also have probably 3 times the employees to do this type of work. I was, of course, I gloated, and I did. And so the woman who runs the MTRS came to me and shook my hand and said, honestly, you're the only, here today, you're the only district here that's actually here to get the good news. So it wasn't my good news, it was Chelsea Mason's good news, and of course the business office. And so that's all I have. That's a big deal, quite honestly. Because there's a lot of people who are like writing down and apologizing as if they had made the mistake. Of course, we own that, but I just wanted to make sure I said that out loud because that's a big deal, especially when it comes to teacher retirement. You're talking about millions of dollars, by the way, that is still out there across the state. But that's all I really wanted to say for my superintendent's report. I was just really just happy, a bit braggadocious.
We're all shocked.
I really stepped outside my shell.
Such unusual behavior.
Yes. The local districts didn't like me much either. Who were all there. So I just want you to know that.
Well, please thank Chelsea for us. That is a big deal. And I've seen some of these state systems and they're rather nightmarish. So
We're very fortunate because we have one of the good employees at Mass Teachers Retirement as our rep. And we're pretty up to date, like on their end as well. But like when our treasurer worked at her old district, she said, how do you guys get it to be up to date so quickly? My stuff, when I look on the Mass Teachers Retirement system, is like a year in the past. And so, so we're very fortunate we have a good rep. Because every month when Chelsea submits, the rep does her piece and we are almost live, up to date.
that's great.
So.
Next. So the school choice enrollment update is kind of, we've, I know that it's in your package. I have to go back to the packet here, but like I said, we go up and down quite a bit. So for this month, we are minus, sorry, our enrollment dropped 4 students, 3 school choice and 1 district resident. You see my yearly reports when I just put every month, listed. We see these ebbs and flows all year. By the spring, we will, if the pattern remains the same, we start seeing a pretty hefty increase in students. It's just kind of the way it goes. I've mentioned this before, and I won't post it. I mean, I will try to post this. I can certainly send it out to anybody, but over the last two FYs, FY 22 to FY 24, to answer your question regarding chapter 70 enrollment, this is how these numbers play out. Over those, through FY 22 to FY 24, we dropped 28 school choice, right? So we reduced our school choice by 28. And our district, the resident increased by 95, which, is roughly 167 versus the net. So again, that has nothing to do, well, it does, the chapter 70 does, certainly when you start talking about residents. It changes all the time, and unfortunately, October 1 is the only date that matters. So at any point in time, I could be, plus 12 by May. Honestly, residents, whatever reason, it will come and go. So, the school choice was mentioned earlier about the insurance coming out of the school choice. I have to tell you, of all the wonderful things that have happened in this district over the last 8 years, if you would have, asked me what was the one thing that I did not think would ever happen, is that we would get school choice, insurance on school choice without something incredible happening, like an override, or quite frankly, some type of financial issue where we would need an override, because you're talking in the excess of $300,000-$500,000. As we drop school choice numbers, as the committee knows, it was concerning, because we need that differential to be very positive, because we also have teacher salaries in school choice, et cetera. So you start getting into some areas in which you gotta have insurance, you gotta have one thing. So that's a huge, it's an unbelievable, if I call it a goal, I wouldn't have, because I never thought it was possible. The committee did a fantastic job, and started allowing us to be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word flexible, but certainly not as worrisome over the school choice because we're full. We don't have much of an option to increase school choice unless we make some decisions. So, again, it's right on where we think it would be. When you look at it across from year to year, it's about right. So we'll see what the spring brings us in terms of the school choice. We just want to keep going with the budget survey and keep going.
You can just keep
Yeah.
going through your,
Yeah, sure.
through your.
So we did something, which I, almost grudgingly put out there, and I shared this with the finance subcommittee, that when you put a survey out, boy, you better be ready for the answer that you get. But the community I have to say, they didn't disappoint. I mean that in a positive way. This was, people took the survey very seriously. They gave us outstanding information. I do like surveys from the standpoint that we just don't know sometimes, what we think we know, but what is the community thinking or what they're doing? So we put out the community budget survey, which we spoke about last year in terms of trying to engage the community more. And by the way, the community included staff members, parents, etc. So it really, we just put it out there to everybody that we could. So as you can see, without, it doesn't come as a surprise, but our greatest group, the greatest number anyway, was 73% of the parents, staff members. And so we got quite a few, we got 341 responses, which is outstanding. I think we also put it on both websites of the town's websites, and I believe Phillipson actually did hard copies in case folks came in to pay their taxes, they don't have, whatever. So we did put it out to the group, literally as best as we possibly could. So how do they break down? Well, a lot like you think, right? Pre-K 4, was our greatest or our largest group of participants, followed very closely by, 8 through 12 and staff and school, et cetera. So we had good representation there. So we asked the question of, what do you want to spend the money on? What's the priority? You could, 1 being the highest, and of course 10 being the lowest priority. Teacher-student ratio came out obviously on top. And as a matter of fact, quite frankly, if you looked at how it was broken, it actually came in second place too. Right, so if you were to, it also had the most, it had the most votes in second place. But staff compensation, education, training, instructional materials, are major issue, go all the way down. One of the takeaways for me, people often, sometimes I will be very candid when I talk to my peers, after they told me I was crazy to put the survey out, that athletics would be on top. It's not, and that's, I think that's great. The focus is where I think it should be, right? Education of students. It's so important, but you know, lots of times you'll see this at the top, and we don't see that here. So it was it was a good, again, a good range of, you know, of interest. Probably if we had, the benefit of the, you know, the Wayback Machine, I'd probably word this question a little bit. The question was worded fine. Some folks just didn't understand the capital plan, I think, just in general, right? It just, if you weren't, you know, familiar, so we got this great comment that said, why in the heck would you fix it? Why would you fix the middle school ceiling and not the roof first, right? But it's simply, yeah, which is absolutely true, right? But these are the items that are on our capital improvement plan, and that's what we put. And so, the new roof, you know, the gym ceiling, the comments, which I'll talk about at the end, which we're still really kind of sifting through, but there were quite a few comments about fixing the parking lots and the drop-off area at the middle high school, because, you know, we probably have close to 200-300 cars go through there, you know, twice a day. Athletic field upgrades actually was actually very, very high, which we were, you know, which we expected. So that was, you know, that, well, we feel good about that because that's where our priority was, is actually on our capital. So then, you know, we wanted to find out how familiar folks were with, you know, our process, right? So almost, well, 50%. We answered the question, but we're somewhat not familiar at all, about 30%, very, and then of course extremely. So that was, yeah, that was good to see. How did we receive it? You know, the folks who received the information, it should be roughly 50-50, but no was the dominant answer of 52.54, which led us to the next question. We said, okay, so what describes your involvement in the district budget process? Like, are you here when these things are taking place? And one of the many things I love about this community is if you're not there on this, because I would bet a donut that people were like, I participate all the time. You just, you know, generally people feel guilty and say, oh, I don't, but I want to mark that I do in case they know who I am. You know, 37% said no, I'm not involved at all. And so in any capacity, which, you know, we sometimes see. You know, we wanted to know if they watched, you know, some of the meetings, some, yeah, 32% watch some, they review the budget materials after it's done, and then about 5%, thank you, Lisa, you know, attend or watch all the school committee meetings, so we appreciate that very much. Who were they? Town residents, we, you know, not a town resident was the leading, so, you know, again, we have, of course, staff members, and we also have a lot of school choice parents. But when you start going, I never attend the annual town meeting or to vote on the school budget or any other item, 23%. I mean, look, that's great. It is. It's good information for us, right? It's good information for everyone because, okay, they don't come, they probably don't plan on coming, so what can we do? Which really leads us to the next question. Thank you, Brian. Right. So how do you want us to communicate with you? So provide me with a short video summarize, explaining budget process in detail so I can view them. And then the school email. Someone made a comment that great, we're going to TikTok everything. Well, I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't. If people are consuming information in a certain way, and they need or want to consume information in a certain way, then we should respond to them. We should not try to do, for example, full meetings or community forums at times that will not, okay, do you follow what I mean? So just because we think it's the best thing to do, or we're conditioned to do those things, that's not what we should do. We have a lot of people who said, about 334 people said, look, I need a short video. So we talked about what that's gonna mean very, very soon, of course, for the budget season.
And I do want to say something, because I absolutely fully support in making these videos. That said, if you're commenting on the video to give us feedback or input, we cannot consider that official input. So if you're trying to talk to the school committee and you're feeling passionate about something that you saw in that video, what we'll need to remember to do is include in the comments how to contact school committee officially so that we can consider your comments official commentary, so that we can officially bring it into meetings, et cetera, to discuss it. It doesn't mean that we don't see your Facebook comments and that we don't do our best to consider them, but nothing that's put on social media can be considered official input to school committee, and especially not on a budget.
Right.
So that's just, I just wanted to add that in there, and important for all of us, because I am 100% in agreement with you. I sit in marketing, you go where people are, you don't force them to come to you. So we're definitely gonna do that. That said, Mass General law is not necessarily caught up with this form of input, so we're gonna need to all work together on that bit.
When asked what they wanted, well, we'd have to definitely do some public service announcements around that. What did people want some more information about? This shocked me. It did. I could have thought that the curriculum instruction and assessment would have been number one. What does that mean exactly? Well, it's, what are you teaching my kids? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Or literally, how are my kids doing? So if I were to use the last major survey that we conducted, which was last year around communication, it was very evident, right? And it was, how was that folks did not feel that teachers were communicating with them, parents, enough or at all. Those were our areas of highest concern. And they were pretty adamant about it. What we probably need to tease out more is that why is my son not passing math? Or is it, I want to know more about the reading curriculum? It could be both. We need to probably kind of tease that out a little bit. State and federal aid, when you see that number 2, I'm like, okay, sure. We can definitely do that. That was pretty promptly, obviously it's right, it's number 2. Building maintenance costs, special education costs, et cetera. So we're starting to put together a plan to address some of these things in the manner that folks that, would like to receive them, and we get some ideas, and we'll talk about that more. Is that it? Okay. So the comments themselves, we left a comment box, or an option, for every, question that had at least what I'll call canned or presented answers or options, I should say. And, again, we were not disappointed. People were pretty direct with, some of their comments around mostly, we need to go through, I think there's something like 70 full comments, but it's mostly around traffic. It's about drop off. Pre-K, which honestly, that was literally happenstance, but pre-K costs, et cetera. So when we have a chance to code the comments as we did last time, I'll come back and kind of do a follow-up to kind of give just to let you know what the folks had said, what they took the time to write. But this was, I'm glad we did this. We feel that the budget that that we will eventually be presenting, or at least been working on, addresses or those are the same concerns, and that wasn't, we certainly didn't. We're glad that they match. Let's put it that way. We feel that those are the high areas that we need to address. So that's in the community, so it's always best when you are aligned, especially when you're creating a budget and, moving forward. I'll just. Stop with that, sorry. Okay.
Any questions about the survey? I was gonna say, I think it's fantastic that we're doing these, it's a great way to get input from the community, from staff, et cetera. I'm really excited that we did one around the budget. It definitely, last year we started kind of posting a little bit more on Facebook about what was happening with the budget. We'll definitely be doing the same again, but perhaps with some additional pieces. Because it is very important to us, and it's tough to explain to folks why they need to come to a town meeting, though. Shout out for the town meeting, if you've watched Gilmore Girls, town meeting was central there, so, come. Everyone else does. So yeah.
Everyone?
A lot of other people.
Okay.
But anyways, just the point being, it's really important to show up if you care about what the school budget is. Unfortunately, that also means you have to show up to town meeting, because that's where it gets voted in. And I think there's just a lack of understanding about how much town meeting does dictate what happens here where we live. And I think I posted the numbers last year, and it's something like less than 5% of residents actually go to town meetings. So it's less than 5% of the residents are making decisions for the entire town of Templeton. And it was about the same for Phillipston, so I looked at Phillipston as well. So, just something to consider. It doesn't, it's no pressure. I know the time's really difficult for folks to get to, childcare arrangements are tough. I get it all. But, it is where our budget gets voted in. So, please, if you can make time, or you can, tag team with a partner or someone, to split off, we really appreciate everybody showing up.
Marcus, who works for those who show.
Yep. All right, so, pre-K.
So last year, we had a presentation from our pre-K teachers in regards to the gay program and overall. It was at that meeting that we actually increased the rate for the first time in, I'm not going to, I would never, I would them in terms of their age or how long they've been here. But all three, when I asked, said, don't worry about it. We've been here very long. So literally over the past 20 years, more than that, the rate had not been changed, is what I'm saying. So the board voted last year to move on. I honestly forget from where to where. I think it's like from $4 an hour, $8 an hour, something like that. So then what happened is this year, it came up again in regards to, why are we, I don't remember the exact comment, but it was something to the effect, why are we so expensive when compared to other pre-Ks? So we didn't have that answer because we just didn't have the information and data. So thanks to Harry and Susan, everybody, we got back out there, started to look at some of the local programs. Again, this isn't an exhaustive list or anything like that, but just, just local. So a couple things. We talked about what the region last week was one of the questions, like, well, what is Region 2? And all of it was, again, you have to really be part of it. Region 2 is where Narragansett, that's Central Mass. So Worcester County, generally speaking, Central Mass is considered Region 2, and they say, hey, Region 2, you can charge $50 for preschool. If you have a toddler program, you can charge $50. They basically set the rates, is what they do. And, God help me, I have no idea who's Region 3, 4, 5, and 6, but obviously, those are other parts of the state, but we fall into Region 2, and that's where we get our pricing. So the current rates for NRSD preschool is that we have a part day program, a half day program, however you like to call it. We charge we charge $20 a day for them, right? Until you get down to the full day, right? And we charge $50 a day. So if I were to go back and forth between slides, you'd see that we just literally charge the amount that we can give it where we are, location. So when you look at that, so there's, by the way, the half-day rate is 60% of the full-day rate. All right? So I guess you could be up close to, $30 a day, if you really want to push it. But we do not, it's $20. Next slide. So we kind of looked around, and by the way, I guess I need to make sure that I say this, there's no shade in any situation. We just literally called for rates. We called for rates. This is, we're certainly not trying to cost shame anybody or et cetera. So Clever Kids, when they responded, you can see that they one day it's 35, 50. These are the partial pay rates, by the way. 3 days. I mean, you can see roughly goes up 30 some odd dollars. And the Little Explorer did not offer any partial day programs. Local preschool full day programs, we of course charge 50. Little Explorers charges 50. Clever Kids preschool full day is 56, and 1-2-3 Grow, which is, you couldn't get a lot of different information from 1-2-3 Grow because they are, I'm going to call them a franchise, but I don't know, but there's a lot of them, and they are all over area. And I think that the way we could understand is they're kind of just they are individually run. So I think a part of that has to, if you're going to do a half day, it's up to you. If you want to, we couldn't get any definitive information in terms of as a corporation or as a business, but overall they charge $50 a day. So this is where I am going to brag and say that if you're going to ask me why would you charge $50 a day, we have the best program around. I would hope that you expect that I would say that. If it wasn't, I would probably not say it. I would probably say something else, but when you look at what we do, everything that we offer, we have certified, highly qualified teachers doing it. And we also offer, and it matters, right? We offer free lunch and breakfast. Now, granted, that because we're a public school, and I guess anybody could say that now if we're a public school. So when you look at all of this, we have, of course, the CPA, just the whole gamut of a school can offer. That is what we offer children, the children of our district and beyond. So we think it's worth it, obviously. So we currently have 20 students in the full day program, 19 of them pay tuition. Of the 19 who pay tuition, 4 of them are vouchers. Okay. If you watch the governor speak, they're going to expand the voucher, I guess, I would say range. That was something that she's proposed. So more people would be eligible for vouchers. I mean, that's on a state level. So, but that seems to be something that they're trying to do. One of her main points was that she wants a universal pre-K for every student in the state of Massachusetts. We all want that. It just, for some odd reason, it takes money. So we'll see what they do with that. But they have 8 preschool students, 4 kindergarten students who attend the pre-K extended day program, and we have walking services. Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning program. Well, it's 19 students in one class with 15 students paying tuition and 19 in the other with 14 students paying tuition and 5 on IEPs and 1 in 4. Tuesday, Thursday, 10, 2, and 10 and 4. 10 students in one class, 8 students paying tuition, 2 IEPs, 10, 6, and 4. Generally speaking, about the same ratio, the 1 day, 2 day, Thursday, 5. So we have rolling enrollment. When asked, we verified this today that so far, if you are of age and you come, you get into program. Right? We do not have, we don't do by lottery, there are, it's rolling in enrollment because the kids then age into pre-K or out of early intervention, however you'd like to put it. So we received 2 new kids, I think it went this week, as a matter of fact. I've been talking with Terry because they turned 3. I have to always remember that, right? So we have 6 more students engaging on early intervention. As it says, we can have up to 20 students with a limit of 5 on IEPs as a ratio. They're required to provide services to the child's 3rd birthday. That's the early intervention. So we constantly, we have a lot of kids in our program, and we're able to take them. And that's it. So, to answer the question, I think that was originally posed, I think, to me, was that why do we charge so much? Why do we charge more? We're not. We are charging, in one case, $6 less, right? But we're at least charging what everyone else is charging for a full day program. I put our services and what we offer, matter of fact, not only local, but any district pre-K. We have one of the best early childhood programs in the area, and that circle I would draw pretty wide. I'm proud of it. They're proud of it. They do a great job. So the numbers don't bear out, or I would say that the data doesn't bear out that we are charging. And it might be a lot for people, we get that, but there's a cost to this, of course. And so, we're certainly we're well positioned in terms of what we're charging.
Questions? All right. Now we have curriculum and instruction, and feel free to just kind of roll and move through your different items. So we've got a DSIP update, a high school program of studies, which does require votes. We will pause for that. And also a professional development update.
I just want them right in that order.
Excellent.
So as you know, we are in year 2 of our 3-year district strategic improvement plan, or our DSIP plan, of which all of our school improvement plans kind of waterfall off of. And so as we did last year, we like to do a mid-year update just to let you know what progress we've made towards some of our action steps, so that we can move forward with our larger objectives and goals. And so as a reminder, we have 3 major objectives in our strategic plan. They include strengthening and further developing a multi-tiered systems of support model to support academic and behavior supports for students. So you'll hear MTSS, and you'll see that tri-colored triangle, like you have already this year. Strengthening culture and relationships, and systems and structures. So those are our 3 big buckets, and our initiatives and our action steps and our outcomes all connect and tie back to those 3 big buckets. So for our tiered systems of support, this year we've had 2 really big things we've been working on. One is the rollout of a new data analytics system, a new data platform, so that teachers have, first of all, access to all of our data in one place, because it's so frustrating for principal or a teacher to have to go here to find student STAR data and over here to find their BIMAS data, and then how do I find their MCAS data? And so we are really working hard to get access to our teachers and then train them on how to use this system. So over the summer, we did a training with our administrative team, and we trained our principals and our directors on what is Analytic View, how do I navigate that, really technical level training. How do I get in? How do I run reports? What kind of information do I have? How do I filter and sort data? We then did an introduction at our opening day PD for all staff, which was very much what is this? How will this benefit me? And how is it selected, which we've talked about earlier this school year. So basically just a very overview, this is coming. And then we did a similar training with our teacher leaders at that same time, where they had a chance to really get the technical nuts and bolts. How do I navigate? And they had logins early access with that. During our monthly teacher leader meetings, we constantly are providing updates to teachers on what's new, what have we changed or modified, and we're getting their feedback to help us adjust reports or update anything that that they might need that isn't there yet. And the team from Analytic View has been incredible and really flexible redesigning reports for us. The technology director and I meet with the Analytic View team every Thursday to review feedback from staff, both from our meetings and from like help desk tickets that get submitted from staff as well. And he and I both participate monthly in an Analytic View user group with district leaders from other schools who are in the same process we're in with our rollout. So we are rolling out slowly, but we're doing it because we really want to make sure that what we're designing and what we're putting in the hands of teachers is really usable for them. So I'm excited about that. The other thing we've been working on this year is strengthening or developing, in some cases, our teacher assistance teams, which are teams in each building that exist to support when a teacher has tried supports and interventions in their classroom and they need additional help figuring out how do I move this student forward, either academically or socially. This system has been really strongly in place in our elementary school. Our secondary schools have really worked this year to develop those systems and structures. And so through that process this year across the district, we've had 64 students who have been brought to teacher assistants or TAT teams, where additional types of interventions or services get put in place for a student. Sometimes that's screening for speech services, and sometimes that is some additional interventions for math or literacy. That second bucket in our DSIP plan is around school culture. We are continuing to offer a orientation and mentor program to help support our new staff that come into our district. One thing new with that program this year is we are developing and strengthening a parallel program with our nurse program. So not only are our teachers getting a lot of practice with instructional support in terms of different techniques to try in the classroom, our nurses are also, with the help and support of our nurse leader, doing the same. So we're really excited about that. We're exploring options for what we might need to provide for new teachers coming in on emergency licenses and how their needs might be different than a teacher who went through a teacher prep program or a teacher who came from another school district. So we're starting to consider what other options we might be able to provide or additional supports to support teachers who might have a different level of need coming in. We, at the beginning of the school year, based on some survey data we received last year, we had each of our schools set up booths where we had volunteer opportunities and ways you can get involved as a parent. So at each open house, principals or assistant principals had that just information out there for folks. And people had a chance to sign up and say, hey, I'm interested in more information about school council or coming to read my student's classroom or whatever that might be. Additionally, we've been working, this is a work in progress, but we've been working to provide some additional information and resources to parents about what their students' curriculum looks like. And so an example of that at our TES parent-teacher conferences, we had a running slideshow going, informing parents about Title I services. We also had informational flyers and packets for what would a first grader be learning? What's a typical curriculum look like for your fourth grader? So we are starting to push out information and have it available for folks to get a little bit more transparency about what students are learning in their classrooms. We have been holding parent engagement nights. Recently at TES, we had a really fun and well-attended book bingo night. And we partnered with the PTO, who provided snacks during that event. We're taking opportunities during those really fun and engaging events to also do snippets of, hey, here's a little bit of information about some of our programming. So because this was a Title I funded program, we started the night off with just a few minutes of what is Title I? What does it look like here? What do we use the funding for? And what do services look like? And then we jump right into the fun. So we had a lot of fun with that. As Dr. Cassidy mentioned, we also been providing surveys to parents. We did a very brief survey at the beginning of the year about snow day calls. And then we recently did a survey around school budget. We are increasing opportunities for parents and students to participate in district committees and events. We have reinstituted our UFCW work me get this right, Work Environment Committee meeting. So similar to our Labor Management Committee meetings that we've had with our NDEA, when we went through negotiations last year with our UNCW, one thing that came up in conversation was, hey, we haven't had these meetings in a while. So we have a really great working relationship right now with our UFCW team, and we've been participating in those monthly/bi-monthly. We still manage to have a little fun in the office and across our buildings. We are continuing to put on, different opportunities for people to engage in costumes and door decorating contests and so forth. And coming soon, we haven't forgotten those snow day videos. So Dr. Cassavant's on the hook for them. So don't worry.
I can't discuss it.
When we look at that third bucket for systems and structures, we have really done a lot of work this year with Alice. And we talked about that last year. Alice is part of our school safety educational programming and systems for supporting school safety. We, again, in our Open Day PD, provided an overview or refresher training for all staff on what is Alice. In August and September, staff completed an online course through the Navigate 360 platform, just to give them a deeper refresher on the components of Alice. In November, all staff, not just teachers, had a chance to participate in an active drill with our local police and fire department. In January and February, during faculty meetings, our staff had a chance to look at resources, sample lesson plans, and begin thinking about how they're going to introduce and do some plans to bring Alice to their students and for the second half of the school year. And then in February, March, April, May, we'll be doing that in classrooms. So we'll be looking at introducing, for example, what does a shelter in place? What is it? Why might we use it? What does it look like? Can we practice lockdowns and evacuations? As you heard Anne-Marie talk about earlier, our insurance advisory committee has explored new options for health insurance. Our central office team is looking at a new onboarding system through PowerSchool to help make the hiring process and onboarding process more streamlined. Our technology department put a new phone system in place at the end of the summer, at the beginning of this year, which is really fantastic because it gives folks, if they choose to use it, it gives folks access to being able to check voicemails or even make calls from their computer or from their mobile device in a way that provides that level of, what's the word here, security. So you're not giving out your personal phone number if you're calling a parent, or you can call and check your messages from home. Not that we're asking staff to do that. There's the ability to do that is there. We also reinstituted our chairs meeting. So we are meeting periodically with the administrative staff, the school committee members from the district, as well as representatives from the town of Templeton and the town of Phillipston, so that we can talk about long-term planning efforts and long-term budgets, which has been a really, my opinion, a really productive meeting. And it's been really helpful to really get a sense of where the towns are and where the district is as well.
And just to clarify that for folks, that's not a formal, recorded meeting in the way that our school committee meetings are. It's an informal meeting that does not have quorum for any particular town or committee. And it's just an opportunity. It's really in a large part focused on relationship building, which is something that was missing over COVID. And so it's good to get that back. It's good to get chairs around the table and sharing. It helps us better understand what stressors or wins are impacting our membership towns. And it gives us an opportunity to keep the towns up to date with things that are happening at the school. They have enough meetings to attend, and I'm sure that they try, but don't get around to watching every school committee meeting. So it keeps everybody on the same page throughout the year. So it's a really positive meeting. So glad you included it.
And then lastly, we've had a lot of facility upgrades. And I know you've heard about these throughout the year as well. Some just to highlight our new dugouts, new fencing, and in the process of some new fields as well. So we're pretty excited about our facilities department and Anne Marie's work to make that happen. So with all of those updates, how do we know if this is working, right? We have this, we have these three big buckets, and we have these initiatives, we have these goals, some of which are directly connected to teaching and learning for students, and others have, a less direct impact. And so, of course, you didn't think I wasn't going to show you some data today, did you? Of course, part of our 3-year strategic plan is to track progress, and we have long-term outcomes, which you'll see here, which include decreasing student behaviors, increasing student achievement, narrowing the gap of students with disabilities and all students, because we've had a pretty significant gap there, and decreasing student failing rates. So while I'm not showing you all the data today, I want to show you a snapshot of some of the data. And some of it is, I'm going to walk you through some of it, because some of it tells a different story if you just look at it than if you kind of unpack some things. So we use SWIS, which is a school-wide intervention system platform to track our behavioral referral data. And we've been using it in the district since 2019, but not fully. So you'll see that there's some gaps. Really, this is kind of an interesting data set to look at, because as you know, 2020, part of the school year was cut off. It was kind of an unusual year. 2020, 2021 school year was partly virtual. And then the high school just recently in the 2022, 2023 school year started using the referral system consistently. So there's some inconsistent data patterns that you're going to see, and some of that is situational with what happened those 3 years. So really the first full district-wide data set that we have for referral data is really the 22-23 school year. And so we are tracking this more periodically, but this is as we do our beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year big data cycles. You'll see that the data for this year was pulled as of October, because that's when we were looking at our beginning of the year data. So we are seeing an increase in student behavior referrals, generally speaking. There's a whole host of assumptions for why that is, but just we aren't seeing a decrease there as our goal is, set to see. So we are digging in. We're actually spending some time in our admin meetings right now, really looking at, what are our processes for if a student violates certain areas of our code of conduct right now. And do we need to tighten some of those up? So when you see our handbook revisions coming your way towards the end of the school year, early summer, you'll see some updated language in that section, for example, as well. So we're really examining not just the data, but what are our current practices and what might we need to adjust in our current practices. This slide's busy. So when we track our STAR data, what you're going to see here, I know we've looked at STAR data at length together. You're going to see the annual trends for the beginning of the year data for the % of students who are meeting or exceeding benchmark. And so what you're going to see, generally speaking, is we're seeing a pretty steady increase in the % of students meeting exceeding. We've been looking at this grade level wise and also tracking cohorts of students. So if you see this purple, for example, if we track our first graders, you'll see consistent growth in that data, in their achievement data. So you'll see we went from 0 to 32 to 40 to 54, and they are now 5th graders and 57% meeting. So we have some really positive growth. We're seeing more consistent growth patterns in reading than we are for math. However, keep in mind, this data does not assess writing. So it's not a full literacy, it's a screening tool just to assess if students are at risk. So generally speaking, we're seeing great trends. Where we have pods, we've been digging a little deeper, and we talked about that at the beginning of the year when we looked at the beginning of the year data trends. When we look at the gap between all students and students with disabilities, the target that we set for ourselves in our strategic plan was using MCAS data. So I'm giving you a sample of that. Because MCAS was a little bit wonky with no MCAS being assessed in 2020 and then a half assessment or modified assessment in 2021, the state is still encouraging us to compare 2019 data to this year's data, which is what we've done here. So we've got inconsistencies in cohorts when we look at this data. So for example, if you look at the 2019 third grade cohort, our gap between the percent of students meeting or exceeding for ELA, MCAS for all students, and students with disabilities was 27. If you follow that cohort, they currently are at 34. If you follow the fourth grade cohort, they went from 37, the gap went from 37 to 29. And then if you follow the fifth grade cohort, it remains stable. So we've got inconsistent patterns when we track cohorts of students. However, we also have a large increase in the percent of students that are now students considered students with disabilities. We are now above 20%, which has been a significant growth pattern for us as we look at our trends over the last 4 to 5 years. We also have increased our programming. We've brought programs back into the district. Mr. Holloway's done a great job working to align programming and really get students back. So we're really digging in and looking at this at student by student levels. When we look at the cohort data like this, it's a little bit deceiving. But we are tracking those patterns and trends to see if we can close those gaps. And lastly, we have some pretty positive data when we look at our 4-year graduation rate data and our annual dropouts. We have consistently, over the last 3 years that they've released the data, we've consistently been, let me get this right, above the state for our graduation rate and below the state for the dropout rate. So positive on both ends. You will see the fiscal year 21, so that year, that I call that that COVID year, that 2020, 2021, we had a decrease in graduation rate and increase in our dropout rate, but we were still below the state. And so we're happy to see those recovery efforts here reflected in that data. Any questions on our updates for our DSIP? That takes a while.
Molly, I'm just continuously impressed by the way you can break down data and communicate it with us well. I appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you. Well, we have a good team. Our team that spends a lot of time. Looks different at different levels, where teachers are using the data, the way our principals are using the data, and our directors and so forth. So thank you. Well, if you have any, after you digest everything I just shared, let me know. I'm happy to show you more data or sit down and talk if you have any other questions.
Thank you very much for pulling this together. It's
Absolutely.
really important for us to get an update, see, reflect on how we're doing against those goals that we set. So thank you so much.
Next up, every year we submit to the school committee our program of studies for the high school for your review and vote for approval. This outlines what our courses look like at our high school. And so what you'll see, I hope you had a chance to look at this prior to the meeting because there's a lot of information here. We've tracked any updates or changes in red to make it easier for you to see those updates. And then anything that's being removed is, you'll just see a line striking it. I apologize, we did have some last minute updates, they're very minimal, that came in today from our high school. And so if you looked at a version of this before this morning, it was missing that fourth bullet. So the only thing that's been added to this is some course description updates for our music and performing arts electives. And primarily the changes you'll see are to add more access for students and make the courses a little bit more broad in terms of instruments, for example. So some major, I won't go over all the changes because I hope you've had a chance to see these, but what you'll see mostly are just some updates where some things that were no longer offered, like women in technology programming, we've taken that out. We've updated language to include our higher ed partners for our early college programming. Our special education programs have not changed in description, but we've retitled them Aspire. What you see in the program of studies starts at Aspire 3. We have Aspire 1 at the elementary school and Aspire 2 at the middle school, so you can see how that flows as you go through the district. And I think a couple of English courses, we just updated the descriptions to better match what we're doing in the classes right now. So nothing major, but I want to give an opportunity for any questions folks might have.
Anybody run into any questions as they were reviewing? Thank you for getting these to us last Friday. It's really appreciated.
The reason we do this around January is because there's so much involved at high school level for enrolling students and scheduling. And so the approval of this early helps us to make sure that courses are updated in our system and we can start enrolling students.
While folks are scrolling, there is a policy related to this, so I just wanted to bring that up and get everybody on the same page with what school committee's role is in relation to curriculum adoption and program of studies. So we don't have any role in designing or implementing. So as it reads here, we'll rely on the professional staff to design and implement instructional programs and courses of study that will forward the educational goals of the school district. Superintendent has the authority to approve new programs and courses of study after they are thoroughly studied and found to support educational goals. The committee itself will consider and officially adopt new programs and courses when they constitute an extensive alteration in instructional content or approach. The committee wishes to be informed of all new courses and substantive revisions in curriculum. It will receive reports on changes under consideration. Its acceptance of these reports, including a listing of the high school program studies, will constitute its adoption of the curriculum for official purposes. So that is, hold on, I have to scroll. That is policy IGD. So just wanted to get everybody on the same page because I know that there's some confusion just generally in the public about what a school committee does versus what a school board does. And a school committee's role in relation to curriculum is very different than a school board's, for example. So really this is a sort of a formal thank you for informing us and go forth sort of motion as opposed to us diving deeply and questioning what is being presented. That said, it is a great opportunity to dig in and get to ask a couple questions if we have any. So please don't feel discouraged and ask any questions you may have.
I will add, Jen, there is a link in here to the courses that are offered through early college. That course list has expanded dramatically. We will provide the updated link once we get it from our higher ed partners. So what's linked in here currently is this year's, it's not next year. We just don't have that yet. So it will be a course offering.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, noting that. Okay. So seeing no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the 2024-2025 high school program of studies as presented.
So,
Motion by Hank, second by Kat. One last chance for any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that's unanimous.
And last update, professional development, I will try to be brief as you guys listen to me. Thank you for entertaining.
You've been entertaining us.
Oh, good. We had a half-day professional development on January 12th, and we have another one coming up next Friday. So we are, these are sort of our closer half-day PD sessions. Just a quick update, TES had a chance to practice using data to effectively plan small group early reading instruction with their consultant from the Early Grades Literacy Grant, CAM, and they'll be putting what they learned into practice to actually build small group plans at the upcoming professional development next week. Our middle school had a chance to follow up with the training they had earlier this year with Keys to Literacy, and they actually practiced in between sessions using some of the techniques that they learned, instructional practices that they learned for increasing students' vocabulary development and structures for helping students unpack some comprehension at the main idea and detail level. And so they brought with them student work samples to their training, and they worked in department teams to share student work, analyze student work, and share what they did for practices. So it was a real great opportunity for them to share practice and reflect on what worked with their students. And then at the high school, they jumped right into a speed dating activity. I mean, tables were set with hearts and lights. I mean, they really set the mood. And the high school teachers, I'm serious. The high school teachers got a chance to do a similar activity where they were implementing common practices across their school for vocabulary strategies across content area as well. They came and they had a couple of rounds of speed dating to share practice with the colleague, and they also had a chance to bring and share student work samples.
They also use a part of their committee time to talk a little bit more about, and brainstorm with their colleagues, different instructional practices and strategies that can come out of their TAP meetings, which we talked about earlier. So when students need additional support, they brainstormed strategies. They went back to our district accommodation plan and looked at modifications and accommodations that are there, as well as just ideas from their colleagues. Our paraprofessionals worked with our BCBA, our behavior analysts, to talk about behavior analysis in their works and how do they recognize certain behaviors, how do they then support students who are exhibiting certain behaviors. And lastly, our nurses participated in Stop the Bleed training with members of our local fire department. So I had a chance to pop in briefly, and they were practicing with different types of tourniquets, and they had a lot of tools in there. It was pretty fascinating to watch, actually. And the feedback, they were just raving. They learned so much and had some new devices that they were looking at ordering as a result of that.
Thank you. And I know that we actually skipped a lot of Molly's updates for our last meeting because we had so many budgetary, money moving items to address. So thank you for that today. Yes. Yes, thank you very much. Those are great updates. We really appreciate you keeping us up to speed. All right, digging into subcommittee. So finance and facilities met this month. We had a really excellent meeting, actually. Admin across the district joined us so that they could each share with us what is most important to them as it comes to budget season. What I really want to call out is, first of all, each of them kind of brought their own flavor, but also each of them really thinks very strategically isn't the right word I want to use. They're thinking about what are their essentials. What do they absolutely need coming into the next year in order to maintain and improve upon the quality of education here in the district? So, I think last year there was a lot of discussion about, is anyone getting a new bicycle or whatever? And, again, we're focusing on the fundamentals. We're focusing on the socks and underwear kind of gifts, that come with getting the budget done. And I also really admire even the I'm going to call it unintentional coordination across the different admin areas, because a lot of them are like, well, I got what I needed last year, so, it's really important to me that these things come, this is what I'm keeping an eye on, and that sort of thing. So it was really interesting to observe, get a chance to hear from everybody. And it's really important for us to hear that, to direct from them. So, thank you to all of them for putting in that additional time outside of general work hours to bring us up to speed. And otherwise, we just generally started to sort of prep for how do we want to approach budget season at the meetings are solidified and that sort of thing. So it's a good meeting. District operations.
Heather, do you want to go or do you want me to? Yeah, okay. So for our district operations meeting, a couple weeks back, we took a really quick look at the survey results that had already come in from the budget surveys, and we were really excited to see the report tonight. So we had a little teaser then, got some full report tonight. That was wonderful. Aside from that, we looked at some policies, looked at some revisions for those policies to decide whether or not we were ready to bring them forward to the full committee to adopt the changes. The first one was the concussion policy that we've been working on for some time. We did a lot of work with that with Mariah last year. So that's the JJIFR and the JJIF links that we have here. So the changes are in red. Because Heather and I were both part of those discussions last year, we felt very comfortable moving forward with that. In addition to that, Molly had brought forward the suggested edits for our field trip policy, which mostly center around making sure that that equity is in the forefront when we are planning and fundraising for field trips. All the edits are in red on that too.
So in order to vote on these, we usually put them in for a first reading, and a second reading. So we'll figure out how to do that within the next couple of meetings. I did notice, I was reading, JIF-R, and I had a few questions. The first, and I know that you guys have been working on this for a really long time, so I'm guessing that these are just like outsider perspective sort of questions, but let me know how to better understand a little bit of this. So points 1 and 2 are related. Points 1 and 2 have to do with what to do if a student loses consciousness and what actions are required. Is that correct? They're actually connected. I'm on page 3.
Yes.
Okay. So then it switches. Point 3 is a different topic, which is what to do if a student is removed from an activity due to a direct or indirect impact to a head. Point 3 and 4 are connected. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have a point. Which is that it got really hard to follow because then it switched to point 5 and point 6, where the connected pieces were sub-items to the point instead of part of the single number. So as an external person reading this, I was having trouble following it. And since this is such a big update to the policy, I think we want to do a little bit of editorial, because I think the language was mostly good.
It's the way it's said.
It's the way it's set up that I started to get confused trying to figure out what pieces were connected and which weren't. Then I did notice that point 5 and point 6 are actually exactly the same. They both read, any student who is symptomatic but stable is allowed to go home with their parents, guardians following the head injury. But their sub-bullets are different. So I wasn't sure if there was an additional word or something that needed to be added to point 6, for example. Like I didn't know if one should read any student who is asymptomatic, and it was just like one letter was missing or something like that, but I couldn't tell what the difference was between point 5 and 6. And then I didn't understand why 5A and 6A were the same, and 5B and 6B are the same, but 5C and 6C are different. And then I stopped because I didn't, maybe it would be helpful if I just put comments in it in the document and sent it over rather than go through it in a meeting. But I did just want to point out like a few things that we might just want to just tidy up from an editorial perspective. And it would be happy to do that, or if you guys want to do that and bring it back, either one is fine. But if we can get it in a Word document, that would be way easier to put some track changes. So yeah, but
I know I can get feedback from our current nurse leader.
oh, great. Okay, that's right. It came from nurse leader.
And then present it back to the district operations committee. That would be
Beautiful. That would be great. Yeah, thank you. I don't know exactly how that one works. So thank you for that. But those were just my initial reading and some of the questions I had. So thank you. So great. So,
Did you have any questions in the other one? That's the, just JJIF?
I will admit that I have had significant internet problems this week and did not have a chance to dig into the other two, and I apologize. You can blame Comcast updates in South Road, Farnsworth Road, Gray Road. I see Hank nodding, so I'm guessing that he was also experiencing that. Okay, so, but otherwise, you know, I know that that took a lot of work to get it to this point, so thank you for all that effort. And so we'll just make some final editorial, I think just little editorial things, and that will be good to go for first reading. Labor Management Committee. Oh, did you have anything else for district operations? That was it.
We
Labor
got out of
Management.
there because it was snowing really heavily.
Oh, no, it was kind of a.
I needed new tires.
Be safe, be safe. So LMC and WEC, so we almost had it, but we had someone else sick.
Yeah. So, the next one that was on the original calendar is February 15th, and hopefully if everybody's still available. You know, the after Valentine's Day.
And work environment was canceled in December. Yes, next week, right? CPAC, I know there was an event.
There was. So last time my update, I talked about a winter meet and greet that was gonna happen, and it did. And it went really great. You know, there was a lot of meaningful discussion. The parents that attended felt that they were happy to have this council up and running. I just want to say thank you to Matt Holloway and Ashley Niggle in Student Services for working with Christy Schwinger, who is the chair of the CPAC committee, to get that all worked out. And also thanks to Colby Young, our high school principal, who worked with a handful of high school students to coordinate childcare while the parents could have that meaningful discussion. So looking forward, we want to encourage more parents to participate, guardians, grandparents, whoever would like to attend. One thing that we did discuss was to have the meetings in person and no more Zooms, and everybody was very happy about that. People just really want to connect face to face, which I can appreciate. And then going forward, we have another event, which it's going to be a busy night around here because that's also February 8th at 6 p.m. And so I'm not sure where it's going to be held because I think, Jen, you mentioned that the tri-board meeting is going to be in the library. So there'll have to be some coordinating on that end. So I don't know who to talk to about that, but we can touch base about that. So what's going to happen that night is a basic rights workshop, and it's going to be put on by the Federation for Children with Special Needs, and they are a great resource for the district. And I just pulled up their website, and with the Federation, what they do is they work to inform families of their legal rights, educate families about systems and strategies, and also empower families to be their child's best advocate. The workshop that's going to be held is basic rights. So it's just really very basics about 504s, IEPs, the process that the district needs to follow, the process that they work with the families to be informed about all the specifics. So it's very, very basic. I have attended that workshop before. It's really great. So if there are questions that parents have, please bring them. You know, the facilitator is really happy to answer child-specific or family-specific questions. So I hope it's a great turnout. And so we will connect about where the location of that workshop will be going forward. I do know that Mr. Holloway did talk about putting out a flyer for that. So you're welcome, you know, for anyone that's watching, they can either reach out to Mr. Holloway there or email myself, and I'm happy to connect you with either Christy or, you know, any information you need to know. And that's my answer.
And Kat, any updates from PTO?
Me too. It was a short meeting and it feels like a lifetime ago at this point. Because we held it on January 3rd. And so the treasurer's report, we did not have one because Dana
has stepped down, and it was kind of like an emergency step down, I think. The only money spent was for the pancake breakfast, and we kind of took a little bit of a loss for it. But it's okay because we weren't out there to make money in the first place. $428.32 is what we spent, and we made $435. So the loss came from our custodian fee, basically. And I think we did talk about how we can like advertise this a little bit more in the future. I don't think it was advertised well enough, because I think had a lot more attendance. And also we had Santa, Mrs. Claus, and Mr. Claus come last minute. We weren't sure if we were allowed to have them, and I think that would have brought in a lot more families. So fundraising. We had no requests. The teachers were super appreciative of their cider and donuts that they were given for teacher appreciation. Oh no, sorry, not teacher appreciation, for the holidays. And there was a thank you note from Julie Gregory for the story hour, items that were donated for the Polar Express supplies during parent-teacher conferences. And I know as a parent, I tried to sign my kids up and it was totally booked up, so it was very well attended. Let's see, field trips. Title I, okay. We talked about previously field trips, discussed and voted on the year's budget, which is $1,500 per grade on field trips. The Title I bingo for books happened January 10th. At the time we had not had this event because we previously were talking about it, and the PTO was providing waters and popcorn and like passing out snacks. And then we went over like the pancake breakfast recap. Next year, as I said earlier, for advertisement, we're considering like a paper flyer, maybe half sheet or something to go home with families. We thought the event was well organized. There was a ton of help, more than needed, I think. So that was great for like teacher participation and family participation. Mr. and Mrs. Claus showed up, as I said, and it wasn't advertised. And we also think that maybe some music should have been added. We did pull some basketball players into the breakfast though. All right, so other business. Do we want to schedule something for February, March? We were thinking about the painted goat, maybe in March. February seems too short, and it seems like there's a lot happening between now. That means already almost February, so like just to give us some time. We're thinking 2 groups, a younger group and an older group on the same day, different days, we're not sure. And Heather was looking into prices and would need to have, we would need to have an RSV for this event. So like sending out like a Google form, and having people sign up. They can't just drop in. And there's no babysitting. The next meeting that we're gonna have is February 6th at 5, not too long from now. Feel free to join us.
How's attendance been? I know that they've been trying to do some recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, I joined and I felt like there was a number of, like, I've come from schools where I feel like there's not much participation, so I'm pretty impressed with what we have. And I do think, we're getting more parents, but I think the staff is super involved. So there are a lot of staff members that show up and, yeah, and encourage, so I think that's really important too. But yeah, and more parents. I think one of our parents, Katie, whose son is in kindergarten, she is taking on a treasurer role. It's not official yet, but she has mentioned maybe taking that on to replace Dana, but nothing's confirmed, neither here nor there, so.
Noted.
Yeah.
All right, great, thank you. For Student Advisory Council, so I met again with Mr. Young and the rest of the team that works with Stuco, and what we determined is that I will attend a meeting in February and April. What the format that has been requested is that I come in, I do like a 10-minute presentation followed by 15 to 20 minutes of like Q&A. So the topics that we decided on, so February's will be, budget, and actually like, how does a school budget work? What does it look like? And some conversations around, what we might do to see what students, think about, some of these questions that were in the budget survey. That'll be actually great timing, because February 6th will be right before our tri-board meeting, and so I'll have a chance to have heard some student voices related to budget, just before that. And then in April, Mr. Young asked to learn more about athletics and games and what it costs to run a game and uniforms and things. We will come with that information and have some good conversations around what does that look like? And, not with the goal of changing anything, but simply with the goal of, helping everybody to understand what does that look like? From the financial side, and what does that mean, and how are we investing as a district in athletics? So those were the couple, events that were requested, and then we're sort of determining some other things still, but I'm really excited to get to come and have some conversation, and share a little bit, but then open the floor up. So tell everybody to come with their questions. So I'm really looking forward to spending some more time and incorporating some more student voices, because we will then we'll do a joint sort of report is what I'm thinking on what we took away from those different sessions, and also gives students an opportunity to get more exposed to what does government look like on a local level, because I know that AP government covers a lot of federal level, a little bit of state level. I took AP government once upon a time. I don't know that much has changed since I took it, but it never covers local, so really excited to dig in there. Legislative updates.
Yeah, so I guess the big one would be that Governor Healy has made her preliminary budget public, which means that the commissioner would be able to release numbers for our Chapter 70 funding, which were wrong, and then wrong again this morning. So it's been updated a few times. And as always, there's changes to, how they calculate the foundation budgets and what the towns are responsible for. DESE's still continuing their talks about chronic absenteeism and how that will impact district accountability levels. So there's still been a lot happening.
All right. Any general comments from the school committee? Anything that didn't get covered tonight? There's a lot covered tonight. Okay, so I don't think we have any correspondence, and last I checked, we didn't need executive session. Does that remain true? All right, great. So our next meeting will be Thursday, February 8th. As a reminder, that is our tri-board meeting, so it starts with our standard meeting, and then there's tri-board. And saying that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone. Would you start the work? Are we done? Dan and Susan, are we on?